situation. Oh, boy. Okay, the president's speech, everybody talking about it, particularly members of Congress. Brian Bilbray, Congressman Brian Bilbray, is on the phone with us here this morning. And, Congressman, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan and Sandra. I was just realizing that after all these years of so much spending and out-of-control acceleration of expenditure, I just realized the problem isn't the Democrats or the Republicans in control. It's they're probably driving a Toyota accelerator through the economic system, I guess. So that'll be our excuse for right now.
Well, there's definitely no brake pedal that we can see so far. Let's break this thing down, though. What did you hear? What did you hear that you liked?
What I liked was the president kind of was brave enough to say what a lot of people know, especially those of us working on environmental stuff, that we need to be aggressive and brave enough to rethink a lot of strategies. Like he stood up and said, look, if we're going to address climate change and provide energy for our country, we need to go back and be aggressive about a next-generation, clean, safe nuclear. I think that was one thing that shocked a lot of people. But yeah. I think as Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to announce very soon, it's something that we've got to quit denying. Talking about developing our own gas and oil resources and use those profits to finance the next generation of clean technology like algae, rather than shipping this overseas to foreign potentates. That's one of those things that I think people were very impressed with.
Yeah, I mean, we even got a standing ovation from the left side of the chamber.
Well, yeah, and I think the issue is that he's finally, talking about the fact that we haven't had an energy policy for over 30 years. We've actually had an anti-energy policy, and everybody's got to start finding ways to get to yes rather than always finding the traditional no's. And I think that one of the things he's trying to do is move to the center, much like Clinton did when the public responded. I think they're still in denial, though. There's a shock here that politics is very fluid. The American people, especially independents, are very critical. They're not going to just follow you off a cliff. And even this president, with his charisma and his presentation, has got to start delivering on promises. And I think they'll hold everybody accountable on this. But right now, he's in the catbird seat. But you could tell he was under stress. You could tell that he knew that he had to, that he had a tough year. He had taken a beating. He was very casual, very animated, much more casual than you ever saw. But I see that as a defense for the stress that he's been under because things have been not working out for him.
Well, yeah, and no doubt about that. All right, let's talk about a couple of the issues that some people are talking about this morning. I think a lot of people were surprised about the don't ask, don't tell. And then, of course, I guess sort of the slap in the face to the Supreme Court about their ruling about corporate donations and political advertising. Have you ever even heard of such a thing? The President of the United States taking a swipe at his court?
No. In fact, I think you may see a policy in the Supreme Court of not coming to these speeches anymore. That kind of swipe was really over the top.
Yeah.
I've got to tell you, I am very surprised that the president did that. That's not traditionally what I think his style is. I think an advisor got him fired up on that. He made statements that obviously the Supreme Court totally disagree with about trying to scare people with the fact that foreign nationals will now come in with massive resources. I think the biggest thing is that the president and a lot of us that worked on campaign finance reform, and I was one of them, we've got to work within the Constitution, and the First Amendment gives people a lot of rights. I don't like the idea that millionaires get the right blank checks for themselves, while those of us who are working class candidates have to live within limits. So there's a lot of these things that was really a swipe that I don't think we've ever seen before.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. And finally, there's obviously the jobs is the big focus, but the other thing people are talking about is resurrecting don't ask, don't tell, saying he's going to get rid of that and just let anybody go in the military.
Well, I think that's his, the executive prerogative as commander-in-chief. Unless there's specific legislation, I think this is what goes with the process. And there's a lot of issues of privacy. There's, privacy works both ways, but I think this is one of those challenges. And when people elect presidents, there are consequences. And this is one of those calls that I think we were expecting him to make earlier rather than later. So I think a lot of people are saying that why didn't he do this, months ago? But I think that the issue really comes down to what's best for the armed services, what's the armed forces, and how can they best serve. Remember, the military is not a social experiment. It is there to do a constitutional mandate of protecting this country, and everything related to them is conditioned on their protecting the American peoples. But he's the commander-in-chief, and this is a call. Agree with it or disagree with it, be outraged or pleased with it. This is his call to make.
Congressman Brian Bilbray from Washington, fresh from the State of the Union. Thanks for talking to us.
As always, it's a pleasure.
You got it. Thanks.